work session to order. Items for review and discussion. A, WCA Recycling Industry Update.
Thank you, Mayor Larkey. This evening we have Tom Kaufman with WCA here to give us an update to what's going on in the recycling industry. As the council will recall, we recently did a survey, customer service survey, and also centered it around the topic of recycling. And before the council were to make a decision as to the type of recycling to look at for the city of Belton, we wanted to get an update on the industry. So Tom, if you would come forward and share the information that you have.
Tom Kaufman, I appreciate you guys having me out. I guess it was 20.
Is that on? I don't think it's on. It's on now? Okay, go.
Lift that up a little bit.
Jordan, is this on? It is. Yeah. Yeah. So we took over this trash contract, or we started a new trash contract in 2019, and just parenthetically, at my store, we feel like Belton is a success story for us and one of the more pleasant communities that we deal with, so thanks for that. We were later acquired in 2020 by GFL, a group out of Canada, but we still operate as WCA of Missouri LLC with the same contracts, the same people, the same tax ID number, so nothing's changed in our service delivery. At the time of the contract, there was talk about recycling, and it's like, well, there's a lot of disruption, and it was a mess. About that time, there was China's green fence and China's green sword that pretty much put an end to exports from the United States, and that just created turmoil. At the time, there were cities that were getting rid of their recycling programs. There were other haulers who just wouldn't collect it. There were haulers and municipal hauling operations that would just direct haul the stuff straight to landfills. We never had to do that. We were lucky. We had a history of doing good stuff at our recycling facility, making marketable bales that were pretty clean, but it was still tough. I mean, we had homes when other people didn't for our material, but it got to the point where we were taking on the cost of collection, processing, baling it, cleaning it, transportation to the mills, and then paying them $17 a ton to take it off our hands. These materials had negative values. Now, fortunately, this time last year it was a disaster. We're in a lot better shape now. And we have domestic markets for all of our stuff, so we don't have to worry about the whims of other places. Because in response to the China deal, a lot of new mills popped up in the United States to fill that gap, and it's been great for us. So right down the road in Harrisonville is one of the two MRFs in the region. We do pretty good. The only thing we can't get past is the contamination. Since I've been paying attention to it the last several years, it's ranged from 19.5 is where it is now, and that's down from the high of 25 to 26%. We got hammered some during COVID, people staying home, generating aluminum cans, plastic bottles, and cardboard boxes. So those volumes went up, but still the materials mix stays the same as what you see here, and that's been consistent for 10, 15 years probably. We still have to do the public education though constantly. Something simple as 2 or 3 single-use plastic bags from a grocery store can get wedged in the wrong place in our system and shut us down. And that's going to continue. I don't think we're ever going to not have public education issues. And here's a picture of, we had a tour, and the plant manager pulled out a dead tree that somebody had put in a container. And we routinely get used adult and children's diapers, bowling balls, raw meat. We get deer carcasses during hunting season. Stuff that people know better, but for some of it, people just don't know better. And this is another issue that we face. People tend to bag their trash in some neighborhoods, and I like to be charitable and think that they're trying to do a good job. They sort their stuff and they put it in a bag that they think's good. And some people even buy these plastic see-through bags that Glad sells that say they're recyclable bags. But in our world, we don't bust bags at our MRF. So they just grab it and it's trash. So I don't care how much time you put into it, how good-hearted you are, it's just trash. We've seen success with cleaning up the stream with drop-off sites. City of Overland Parks had one that they've had for more than 30 years. They've moved it to a bigger spot. It's busy, always busy. And once a year, they have a recycling extravaganza where they bring in other outside groups where they take clothes and they take books and they take bicycles and all sorts of stuff. And then Bridging the Gap has handled the drop-off site even before Kansas City, Missouri had curbside collection. And they're really good too. And the deal about them is they're staffed, they're restricted access, and there's people who help people who bring stuff in and say, that goes over here, this goes over here. No, that's not, we can't recycle that. And yeah, you might have heard it as recyclable, but it's not recyclable in this market. And you know, it's just to engage people, and it really reduces the contamination down to almost nothing. By contrast, we had a site in some town north of the river, and they had unattended roll-off boxes that were allegedly for recycling. And you know, you'd find mattresses sticking out of them, and it was just an illegal dump site constantly, every day. That's all it was. So these actually work, and the participation is always high. And having said that, just a little quick primer here on what we do. I'm certainly willing to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Thanks for coming tonight, sir. And I've seen some of these communities that are still doing curbside are doing like every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Is that something you guys would propose, or is it something you would do weekly?
We're going to continue to do weekly collection. There's one hauler in this market, pretty good sized, might even be the biggest on the planet, who just announced all their customers, we're giving you all 95-gallon carts and we're collecting you every other week, whether you like it, whether you don't. Now, we're not going to do that, but if we entered into an agreement with, say, the city of Belton, and you said we wanted every other week collection, then we would do that, and we would work with you. But as far as ever
Would that
changing...
reduce our cost? Would that reduce our cost per household?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, Chet.
I'm just kind of curious, the plastic recycling is a big issue. What are you doing exactly, or who's buying this plastic to do something with it?
Plastics, they get tricky just because in a lot of places we're required to take anything anybody puts out, numbers 1 through 7. But in reality, we only have strong markets for 1s, 2s, and 5s, and we can sort them separately. Everything else just gets dumped into a baler and it's sorted and sent off as mixed plastics, where we can sell, we have markets to sell it, and we can even cover the cost of the collection and processing nowadays. But it's the 1s and 2s, it's your pop bottles, it's your milk bottles, it's your dishwasher detergent bottles, anything with a neck. Those have always had good markets. Those have always, you can buy, they make clothes out of those, carpeting out of those, the fuzz on tennis balls, all sorts of stuff.
Interesting.
I used that one up there at Longview. I had a bunch of boxes in there, and there was a man there, and he was directing me to, and he was stacking those boxes in there. There wasn't I don't think you could have breathed in between the spaces, but I know I took one box up there, and he said, no, I can't take that one. And it had plastic on the outside and cardboard on the inside. So, yeah, having somebody there to kind of direct you around, I think a lot of people mean well in doing what they're doing, trying to do the recycling, but like the pizza boxes, once you have oil in the pizza box, it's worthless.
Right.
So, you know, it is an education issue, so,
Yeah,
thank you.
If you get a handful of those in a bale, you can foul a whole bale and it'll get turned away. So, and with those boxes, like, it's not just the plastic that matters. Like if you buy television or something and there's a bunch of styrofoam that's embedded in the box, that's got to go too before we can do anything with it. So.
Thank you.
Rob?
Yeah, did you say it was 19% contamination rate?
It's between 19 and 20 was like last month.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you know if there's well, they must have a market. They keep collecting the other group in Harrisonville where you drop off, I think it's Casco or something like that. Are they, do you know that they have a market?
I don't know if they bring it to our facility. We have a lot of third parties that bring
Okay.
boxes or hauling operations that bring their trucks to our facility, so.
Thank you.
I guess this is probably for Sheila, or not Sheila, Alexa, sorry. What was our contamination rate? Wasn't it like 40-some%?
Yes, at its best, it was around 40, and at its worst, it was around 60.
I guess my question is, how do we get our citizens to go from, we'll do the middle 50% down to 20% contamination and make this successful? I mean, you say education. I know we've educated them all the time, but we're still having people that don't understand how to recycle or what to recycle. Do we simplify it and only do certain items, or?
Well, that's an issue that's bedeviled the industry consistently, and it got worse when we went from the bins on the street that are open, the 22-gallon ones, to carts with lids and stuff. Some people don't know any different. Some people don't care. Then I think really the only thing that the industry thinks you can do, I mean, we're not going to have recycle cops go and peek in people's containers. So, you know, it's either public education or you just abandon hope.
Go ahead, Andrew.
So hypothetically, if we did a contract and we did have the 40 to 60% contamination, how would your company handle that? Would it be renegotiations, raising costs?
We'd sort it,
Okay.
you know, and we have a contract, and the contract says we take your stuff, this is the frequency and this is the rate, and we sort it, and we work with your staff and you guys and whatever neighborhood organizations or whatever makes sense, you would tell us to try and drive that contamination down.
Mayor, one of the things that, some of the questions that you're asking are the conversations that Tom and I have had. And the reason that I asked him to talk about and give an example tonight of a facility is to try to address that education level of, you know, as an interim basis to doing curbside, to doing a facility where you could do that training. You could have that that one-on-one training that Councilmember Trussell was referring to, where he went up and the person said, nope, not here, that can't come here, that's actually waste. And instead of recycling. That's kind of an interim. It's not saying that you wouldn't ever do curbside. It would be something that you could do until you could get that education process through. So that was something, that's an option that you could consider.
Allison?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are we at a point where we have an estimate of the cost to consumers on this?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not until we are able to determine what you want to do, and then we would negotiate.
Okay. But in theory, we could weigh both costs, yes, of a MRF? Okay, thank you.
I've been a big proponent of a single site location just for the educational value. I'm assuming you guys would come and haul that off and you'd be the contractor for that?
That's what I would assume, that you
Okay.
would, you know, exercise the clause or the language in the existing contract and say, you're our recycling program, haul these boxes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think the education value that I think we can do with having a single site and being manned and stuff like that, I think we can cut the contamination rate down. Now we just gotta get people to participate.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be my selection.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
I have one more question. This might be for staff. Just for context in this conversation, does anybody remember what the survey we did said the interest in recycling was?
I'm gonna vaguely recall it. There is an interest in recycling, more for curbside than for a facility. And the bottom line was, I believe, due to cost and then convenience.
Didn't the survey have a cost estimated in
Yeah,
it?
we estimated when, I actually had some conversations with multiple carriers about what the estimated cost could be. And that's where those dollar figures came from, just as a broad range. That is not by any means something that we would be held to. I believe it might be slightly less than that, but that would be a per household, and every household would need to participate in order to come up with a $2 to $3 per household for a facility versus I can't remember the amount that we
I feel like
stated.
it was 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say 4 to 5 for
Okay.
curbside.
Okay, that just helps
And
with
then, of course,
context.
then that would also be adjusted based upon if you did it weekly versus bi-weekly.
Well, one of the things that I would mention to the public is if there's a lot of individuals that have 2 containers, and if we do a recycling program, they could probably eliminate one of those containers, and the cost might actually go down for them with the recycling program. So I think it'd be beneficial. I know our family would like to have a recycling program again.
Yeah. Yes, and that's one of the other, oh, I'm sorry, Mary, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
That was one of the things that, as we were talking about it, is the number of individuals that have more than one cart at their home currently to handle their solid waste, you would be adding an additional cart, that some people don't have room for the cart they have already, and then adding an additional cart, what that ends up looking like, in just the overall cleanup and beautification of the city.
I assume I know this answer, but I think you hit it a while ago. If we do curbside recycling, everybody would have to pay whether they recycled or not?
Correct.
Okay.
In order to achieve
Yeah,
that
yeah.
rate range that
Yeah.
we were talking about.
Any other questions?
Just as a follow-up to the council, there is a grant opportunity through Mid-America Regional Council through the Solid Waste Management District. And so that deadline is this Thursday. We have given them a pre-application process, wanting to know which direction the council may want to look at for that. Would depend upon the type of grant we would look at, trying to get funding for a program. Is there any feedback from the council to date that could give us a little clarification that we could take advantage of that grant timeframe? And if not, we can always apply next year.
I mean, again, depending on the grant dollar figures, if you could have curbside, yeah, that'd be wonderful if we could pay for it. But if it's more of a single site and we can get that paid for, I'd go for a single site if that's all we can do.
What's your,
So I like the idea of a single site, mainly because those that don't want to recycle will not have to have it on their bill. But
No, actually, even a single site,
single site would
there
have
would
to
still
pay
be
too?
billing for a single site
on their water bill,
on their utility bill.
okay, so they would all have to pay for that? So whether we have a site or curbside, the constituent will have that on their water bill
On their
or
utility bill.
utility bill?
Yeah, it would, the rate would be different.
Okay,
I mean, it could be $2 for single site and $4 for curbside. I mean, so it's,
right. Thank you.
Go ahead, Allison.
And like I said, then probably what I'm again thinking is that you need to go back to the survey and see, because didn't the survey say they would prefer the home, everybody getting it at their home?
Correct.
And
Yeah,
I,
but
you
they
know,
also didn't have this additional information.
yeah, I understand that, but based on that survey, I could go either way, but, based on the survey, I would kind of indicate that probably the home recycling might be the better way to go, just based on what the general population that voted or selected or filled out the survey.
Okay.
Allison?
This is a question for you. What would the truck traffic look like with what we have now with waste pickup and lawn bags, 10 a week, and then a separate truck for recycling? Is that how that would work?
We'd probably run the same routes and we'd have the same collection day, only it would probably apparently be every other week, I mean, if that's what you wanted.
So potentially
yeah.
3 trucks coming through on
Absolutely.
your collection day, getting the 3 different items?
Yes.
Okay, Craig, I see you nodding your head. Just from an infrastructure standpoint, just gonna have a question about that. Thanks.
What's your thoughts either way?
I'd like to see the survey again, but I think if it is a service that Belton can offer at a nominal cost, that's attractive to people that might want to move here and the folks that are already here.
Perry?
I think we should take a look at the survey and see what the people said. That's the reason we put it out there. And I am kind of curious about, we have the yard waste pickup, we have bulky pickup, and then we have trash pickup. So we have, how's the bulky and the yard waste working out? Is that,
Oh, you know, yard waste never works out, and it's about to get worse because the leaves are gonna fall. But,
I'm not sure, supposedly, if you put it in a brown bag, it's picked up every week.
yes, yeah. We take it to a processing facility, an organics facility, and they grind it up, so.
So this would be one more option added to that. But if that's what the people want, and it's a nominal cost, the people are interested in recycling, so
You-
if the survey said it.
Okay.
Finish your survey stuff.
I think my concern is with the survey, it looked like it was like around 60%, so then there's still 40% that didn't want it at all. And then I understand that statistically, they're saying that any sampling would have came up with the same numbers, but that, I don't know, I guess I don't feel that that's what I'm hearing from a lot of citizens, but it could just be that the noisier citizens are the ones I'm hearing from, and I'm not hearing from a good sampling either. So, I don't know, I think I'd like to have some better idea as to really what a larger majority of our citizens really want, whether it's recycling or not.
Well, all I can share is that the survey had a 95.7% accuracy rating. And it trended across the board, so I don't, that's the data that we have available.
I seem to recall 65% or so, but I definitely want recycling. Not everybody, but the people that I've asked about have wanted recycling, and I agree with Dave. We need some training first before we jump full-blown into giving everybody another 95 gallon receptacle at their back door. So I mean, if the question is, should we go ahead and apply for a grant, I would be on the positive side for that.
For which way? Curb?
Does the grant
Curb.
decide, require a choice right now, or?
Yeah, it needs to be specific as to what we're asking for.
Oh, well then I would say to start off with a single site drop-off. And I think once residents see that that's, what I've heard anyway, is less than having curbside every week or every 2 weeks, that I would think that number would stay around 65%, or maybe more.
Well, I know you wanted more information, but if you had to.
I think I probably lean towards the single site as well first, and at least give us some room to learn, and then go from there.
Tim?
Yes, so I would still need more information to make any decision on it. Again, the container is a subject that we need to find out about. We don't need to, if single site or not, that's up in the air right now. What are we gonna do with another container? That's a problem, and we need to work out a solution for that if we're gonna head in that direction. The cost, we're up in the air about what's gonna cost, we don't know. So it's pretty hard to make a decision based on, it might be this much. Interest, we know what it was, we don't know what it is today. I know there's 2 here that's interested that I can sense, but again, we don't know for sure where we're at. And then the success rate of recycle, you know, it was a mess, as you alluded to the fact. We're not very far out of that mess, so kind of need to know a pattern of where we're going, how we're going to stay there, and just how much good it's going to do. If you're continuing to get 60% unclean product? Do you continue to fight it? Do you always know what that cost's gonna be? Is that gonna adjust the cost? Where are we headed in the next 5, 10 years? Again, we were back 20 years and crashed just a few years back. So, I need more information before I would make a decision or try to make a decision. I need to be informed more. Thank you.
In looking at the survey, Mayor, 84.2% said they tend to recycle. They want to have some form of a recycling program, and just under 65% wanted to have curbside recycling.
What are you talking dollar-wise on this grant? If we were to get it? Do we know that ideal, or?
Sylvia, do you recall the dollar threshold that they have available? So with an application process, we believe, and I'll need to clarify this, that the available dollar amount could be, an award could be up to $150,000. And so, yeah, and then that has a 20% match. So when we were looking at a facility, what we were looking at would be applying for a grant that would help pay for the individual that would work the site and help educate, and then also maybe the first year of haul away, second year of haul away, something like that, the cost of the actual, what are they called, Tom? The carts, the dumpsters at a facility, the...
Roll-off boxes?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And look at what that cost would be and see if there could be a funding for that. And then if it's a curbside, we would look at some form, the carts cost a lot more money than that. We would be looking at some type of a supplement to help pay for an educational program. Both, we would ask for educational program, and whether it's through social media, doing videos, magnets for the front of the refrigerator, whatever the educational type program. And then for a curbside, we would be asking for some type of assistance with the cart.
Go ahead.
Hearing all of this, I think I would certainly be in favor of a single site location. Cost would be less for the citizens. Even like the yard waste that we have now. If there was a single site to even take that there, I would like that rather than setting it out there and getting missed half the time, having to call back and forth. If I knew a place I could take it. I think until people learn more about the recycling, what can go through it and what can't, a single site along with the grant and less cost to the citizens would be the way I would want to go. Another truck off the road too.
Go ahead.
I got some resident feedback prior to the meeting. I just pulled it up here. A guy in my ward, David Gutierrez, had experienced a single site recycling program in Park City, Utah. And he's got some good points he likes about it. The education piece that residents have to do buy-in to take it there and sort it themselves. It's key, and the cost is cheaper. Just looking through his notes here, he even sent photos of how it's set up there. So we'll just count that as a little bit of resident interest that's come directly to me for consideration.
Go ahead, Angela.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify. You said 84% said they did want recycling. Was that even with a cost? Was it with no cost? Did it just say 84%?
It was just, are you a recycler?
Regardless,
84.2% said yes, they wanted to recycle.
Okay. That changes my opinion on the 60%, then, yeah, I definitely want to do recycling, then 84%. That's good enough for me.
Go ahead, Dave.
Mr. Coppin, I've been on council for more than 2 years, so first of all, I'd like to say it's been a pleasure with WCA and the trash service, so I'm not being critical here because you guys have done a wonderful job with the trash. My question is, does the yard waste follow the same routes as you guys, or that's a different company, right?
No, that's us.
I just noticed our
Subcontracted out in some places, but I think in Belton it's us.
Okay, because I just noticed our subdivision gets missed a lot, so I just wanted to know, if they follow the same route, or does that trash guy call in and say, I got yard waste over here and it needs to be picked up?
No, there's almost no communication
And I don't want to,
between them.
and I tell the staff, I don't want you guys in trouble, I just want it picked up.
Yeah, no, I get it. And yard waste is difficult because, you know, volumes are different. You staff up for high seasons and surges and stuff, and you got new guys. It's hard to keep guys on the backs of those trucks. A lot of times you run temps, and sometimes you just get your ass kicked and you can't get everything up in one day on heavy seasons.
I just, because I have a resident, I live in a residential area that there's a lot of yard waste out there, and, you know, there are always 10 to 12 houses every Friday that have it out there, and then some Fridays I'll see, even on Saturday, it's still there. So I always tell them to leave it.
That's the best answer.
So I just wanted to see if it's the same company, or if, I didn't know how that was actually driven there. So I didn't know if they actually did the same routes every time. So thank you.
All right, I don't know which way to go on this. I mean, it sounds like most people want to do a single site. I hate not going with what the survey says, with 65% of the people wanting curbside recycling. You know, so I think we need more. I'm like Tim, I think we need more information to make a decision. I would hate to lose out on this grant, so I guess you could start with a single site on the grant, and if that's the way we go, we go. If not, we can change.
And Mayor, just to
Change later.
further, my apologies to further the confusion, but the survey did come back, and the question was that up to 65%, it was just a tick under, would be willing to pay up to an additional $4 for curbside.
Yeah.
So, I know it's all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I think
I
starting
would-
somewhere, though, is a
No,
good.
yeah, that's why I'd say go ahead and start with the grant with the single site, and then we'll go forward from there, and if we have to change to do curb, we change to do curb. That's all we can do right at this time.
I mean, I think Mr. Coppin said it correctly. I mean, the interaction with the staff at the place and the citizens is a great thing. I mean,
No,
that's just
yeah,
another.
I like that, and I like it to educate the citizens. I do like that, but, 65% want to do curb, so but we got to start somewhere, so I would say, I think a majority of us want to do single site right now for the grant, and then we get more information, we can change at a later date.
Thank you for
Is
that
everybody
information.
okay with that?
This is a quick question, though. I think we're kind of assuming that there would be a company representative there, but is that normally the case for your single-site places?
Usually that's staffed by the municipality.
Yeah, and
Okay.
with training from the individuals at the MRF.
Go ahead.
This is probably not known, but I'll just ask, do we have an idea of what the hours staffed would be? Would it be 24/7?
No, would not
Okay.
be 24/7.
That was a highlight from David's experience in Park City, Utah, that it was 24/7. So if that's ambitious, I just want to know.
24/7?
Yeah.
Or it was open 24/7?
But how big is that community?
It's Park City, Utah, so, yeah.
Yeah, so
Just,
no, what we would be looking at would be probably a Wednesday through Saturday operation, is what we had talked about, but definitely having a Saturday available.
Yeah, because I would hate to get into what we had back here before we,
We'll talk about that a little bit.
go ahead.
So, if it were single site, is there a location, is it fenced? What we have to do to prepare, or we will get into this back here. So, if
Yeah.
we're going that direction, give us some more, again, lack of information.
Yeah, there's not a specific site created. We would be looking at somewhere out by, at the south end of Markey Park, next to the new Public Works facility. It would have to be fenced, it would have to be secured, it would have to be posted, and it would have to have cameras in order to ensure it doesn't become a dumping site.
Yeah, even outside the fence,
Yep.
you would have to do that, and
Exactly.
again, that's gonna put a little more, it will happen. Just gotta keep in mind, the police,
All right,
more pressure.
Yeah.
go ahead. No,
I have to ask.
No, go ahead.
Was the question on the survey, weekly pickup and also one site? I mean, was there an option to mark either one of them? It's been so long, I don't remember. We're
We
talking.
refer to it as bi-weekly.
or bi-weekly?
Up to $4 a month for biweekly.
But on the survey, was the option to go on a single site
Yes.
versus a week? Okay.
Yeah, and it was 64% said of the recycling, they preferred a curbside.
Okay.
Yeah. Around 7.5%, 8% said a drop-off site. 11, little over 11% said they didn't think recycling was necessary, and almost 17% said they prefer to continue to recycle on their own.
Thank you.
So only 7% wanted a drop off or a single site?
Yeah. Yeah, with 64.6% wanting curbside and almost 28% saying no recycling.
But I'm assuming if we get a grant that funds this for a year or two, I mean, I think they would be ecstatic about it.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know, yeah.
I mean, it's better than what we have today.
well, that, Councilmember Clark, you're correct, you know, then that becomes the, well, you know, you're not going to Harrisonville and you're not going to Redbridge
Right.
to do the.
And we can do the education factor for a couple of years and see how it grows. If it gets so good, I mean, we can always go back to residential. But I think we gotta educate people so we're not in that 60% contamination rate. And I think a single site is the best way of doing that.
Yeah, the survey also showed that there was a definite need for continued education.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Mayor, the next item on the work session is the monthly financial report, and Sheila's here to speak to that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I placed the July 31st, 2021 report at the dais for each of you. And I just thought that we would start with the general fund revenue budget variance dashboard. We are only 4 months into the year. Things can wildly change. So this is just a snapshot in time as how our actual revenues for the first 4 months are trending towards what we think where we think we're going to go for the year. So property taxes, even though our property tax collections are up over last year at the same time, that's really, I think it's all because of timing. I think we'll even out, so that's why that's neutral. Our sales taxes are absolutely positive and trending ahead of what we budgeted and definitely ahead of last year. And we're up about $489,000 in the general fund on sales taxes as compared to last year. Our utility franchise tax, really, I have it as negative. It's just a little bit negative. We're down for electric utility franchise taxes, but that's really because of timing. I think we're gonna catch up by the time we look at the end of August. Our wireless phone utility franchise tax is down by about almost $40,000. So that's the reason that that's negative. Licenses and permits are looking negative. Our building permits are down from what we anticipated, and then also from last year by about $63,000. Our grants are neutral. Our fees that we collect are positive, and that's entirely due to ambulance fees. And then our fines, our revenues are, while they're ahead of where we were last year, they're trending under what we anticipated collecting this year, and COVID closed the court for them for most of last year, and that's why they look really good compared to last year. But they're actually down under for the year if from where we are to what we budgeted, if that makes sense. And then our other revenues are neutral. As far, I kind of have gone over the financial report in kind of a lot of detail the last few months, really trying to bring you guys all up to speed and show you the things to maybe look at. I don't know that we need to do that this month, but I absolutely would be happy to answer any questions that any of you might have, if you have any. And also feedback from you guys as to what you would like. I'll absolutely let you know if there's anything I'm concerned about in any of the funds, but I thought we could make it short and sweet if you guys were okay with that.
Any questions? Seeing none. Patrick, you're up.
Mayor, members of council, before all of the council members today is a brief handout that I created with 5 different solicitation ordinances on it. The first one is the City of Belton's. The next 4 have all been subject to court challenges in various courts across the United States. I asked, when I handed it out to all the council members, if you guys thought you could figure out which one was unconstitutional. So we're actually going to kind of go through these, and then if you think that one's the one that's unconstitutional, raise your hand and we'll see if you're right. So first one's City of Belton's. We're not going to really go over that one because that's what's already on the books. The second one reads, it shall be illegal for any individual to sit or stand in or on any unpaved median or median of less than 36 inches for any period of time. Who thinks that one was determined unconstitutional? Nope, that one was found to be constitutional. Its saving grace is, while solicitation is protected speech under the First Amendment, governments may impose reasonable, content-neutral restrictions on the time, place, or manner of protected speech. To be considered a reasonable time, place, or manner restriction, the restriction must be justified without reference to the content of the regulated speech, be narrowly tailored to serve a significant government interest, and leave open ample alternative channels for communication of information. The court in Evans versus Sandy City, which was the court case for number 2, upheld this ordinance specifically because of the limitations on the widths of the medians. They didn't ban it in all medians, and they also left open potential use of the sidewalk. So that was the alternative means of communication available, and it was narrowly tailored in that it didn't prohibit all medians. Any questions about number 2? All right, number 3. No person who is within a public roadway may solicit or sell or distribute any material to the occupant of any motor vehicle stopped on a public roadway in obedience to a traffic control signal or light. Who thinks this one was unconstitutional?
That is.
That one was not unconstitutional. Oh, really? That is Watkins versus City of Arlington. The reason why that one was determined to be constitutional is because the City of Arlington, quote, presented evidence indicating a substantial number of deaths and injuries to pedestrians at intersections in Arlington between 2019 and 2014. So essentially in that case, the government proved up that we have a significant interest, a significant governmental interest in prohibiting people from utilizing the roadway to solicit anything. Now again, the key to there is it's roadway, not all of the right-of-way. So it's still left open the potential for solicitation on sidewalks. And I'd also note that it's in obedience of a traffic control signal light. So at intersections where there was a median but it was a 4-way stop, an individual, business, whatever, could solicit donations. That was another ample alternative means of communication of the information. Number 4, no person shall stand in or enter upon a roadway for the purpose of distributing anything to the occupant of any vehicle. Who thinks that one? That one was determined to be constitutional in the Traditionalist American Knights of the Ku Klux Klan versus the City of Dislodge, Missouri. Now, the reasoning for that one was simply that it was content neutral. That is an unreported case, but it's probably the only one in the state of Missouri that actually hits on these issues that are currently presented due to the Reed versus City of Gilbert decision that most of the council has heard me complain about in relation to sign codes. but it also affected this as well. The court there essentially just looked at the ordinance and clearly said that it's the purpose of distributing anything. So there is no content. They don't care what you're distributing. You just can't do it. That is why that was upheld. And so now that we've gone through the first three, number 5 was the ordinance that was determined to be unconstitutional. And that is, no person shall stand, sit, or stay on any portion of a median either less than 30 feet wide or located less than 200 feet from an intersection. Now, this case was McGraw versus City of Oklahoma City. It was actually a jogger that brought this case against the City of Oklahoma City, and they determined that jogging was expressive content, which was an interesting determination to be made. And also, this was decided by the same court that decided the Evans versus Sandy City, the number 2, that had the restriction on 36 inches when this one went up to 30 feet. And the main reason why the court struck this down is when you base something off public health and safety, the measure of whether or not that is okay is impersonal hard evidence. So the City of Oklahoma City did not present any evidence that there had been any traffic accidents, pedestrian fatalities, or anything on any of these medians because of any of the conduct at all. So the court struck it down as you didn't actually have a governmental interest. And while in that case it references the chief of police discussing it with the city council and showing them pictures of vehicles crashed in the median, at trial, none of that evidence was really brought up and circled back to that, yes, that happened here and it could have hurt someone. So when we look at these, we're looking to be content neutral, we're looking to protect the public health and safety, and we need to do so in a narrowly tailored manner that serves our legitimate governmental interest. And one of the reasons why I put all these before you is because if you gave these to any lawyer in any part of the country and asked them to pick out which one was unconstitutional, you'd get 1 out of 25 that could get this right. This is a very tricky area of the law that we're trying to, regulate, and we need to do so very carefully. So one of the other reasons why I put this in front of you is city staff needs some direction on kind of which approach the city council would like to take. Because as you can see from number 2 and number 3, there are avenues available. One is to prohibit it based on the median width, because it's not safe for somebody to stand on a median of under 36 inches next to traffic going 50 miles an hour. The other option is if we can, through our research, can determine empirically that in this metro there is a significant number of crash fatalities involving pedestrians and other things at not only intersections here in Belton, but also regionally, we could utilize the third one and just, prohibit solicitation of business or anything else on the actual roadway and simply put it in the median or in the sidewalk area.
Go ahead.
I mean, I kind of like the number 2, but I don't like it because of the paved median of less than 36 inches.
And these are all samples, so Greg would be tasked, because he is the public works director and knows the most about the medians, to determine some of these median widths.
I just know that we're talking about putting medians on some of our roadways, and so we'd make those less than 36 inches?
I think that would just be up to design standards, the APWA. And there also is, when it comes to some medians on some of these high volume areas, it is smart to remember that the city doesn't have a role in determining the width of the median. It is MoDOT that would determine the width of the median, like on 58 Highway.
But the number 4, they're not distributing something, they're asking for something.
Well, so that is what Springfield based their
That's
ordinance.
a Springfield case, so they're...
Well, that's dislodged, but that's what Springfield utilized as their reasoning.
I thought Springfield was more, the penalty was on the driver.
For distributing stuff to people in the roadway.
Gotcha.
Because the thing to remember about number 4 is while it's sitting, standing, it is also relating towards the distribution of materials. So going back and forth from both the person standing there and the person in the vehicle or walking by.
I guess I'd like number 4 then.
All right.
Patrick, is there something wrong with our number one?
There are some questions on it because it does directly relate to some content. If you'll just look at it by its plain language, it prohibits soliciting of ride, employments, business donations, or gratuities. One of the cases that dealt with a similar, because that, I will be honest, the current Belton ordinance is a copy and paste from the 50s that most cities utilized. And one of the reasons that that has been struck down recently is due to it is facially not content neutral. It is content specific because, say, somebody had a petition that they were trying to get people to sign, they could go out and do it and they wouldn't fall under that ordinance. So,
Well, having heard that, I like number 3 the best of them.
okay. And any of this, I mean, honestly, whatever is kind of decided the direction from the council to staff, there is still going to be some necessary background work on the city's end regarding, kind of getting some of this data together.
Angela?
So with that background work, do we happen to know, even just like say this year, have we had any pedestrians hitting those median areas on 58?
I would have to check the data in regards to that, but I can't remember any. But we've had solicitors causing traffic problems up and down 58 when they go out to conduct it because there is no median.
Allison, or are you done? Allison?
Whatever we decide will apply to 58 and Y Highway, correct? Yes. Okay, there's no MoDOT code or Missouri state level code that would supersede
No,
it?
MoDOT doesn't really get into that game, and that is still a roadway within the city.
Okay. And I've had someone ask me a question about this before, like how we determined conducting legitimate fundraising events. If we permit those, have we done that historically?
Yes, people actually notify us and apply for that, and it's a permit process that goes through the city clerk's office.
Do we have an idea of the volume annually we would see?
No more than 3 or 4, probably.
Okay, thank you.
And the thing to remember with whatever route the city does go, like say number 3 is the selection, people could still, say for example, the firefighters wanted to get the boot and, stand and collect donations. They could still do that from the sidewalk. So they would be prohibited from going into the medians, but they could still do it from the sidewalk.
Can I ask logistically how that occurs?
I guess logistically, like do they need to get a permit?
Well, no. How do you have a boot block without going into the road?
Well, no, you can still enter the roadway to collect the solicitation, but you cannot stand in the roadway to solicit.
Got it. Thank you.
Most of the staff out here doesn't realize that we had substantial problems on 58 and Y because of boot blocks, donations for United Dimes or United for different associations, and they would actually get out there, and the green light is going, and they're stopped, and they're out there collecting money on a green light, moving traffic. They were out there in the walkway, on the white line, and that was becoming a pretty common endeavor on a weekend. Extremely dangerous. We finally kind of got rid of that, and everybody wants to say they're worthwhile causes, and they are. But when you're in traffic, and some of that traffic, I'm sure Chief Lyons would say that it may be 35 mile an hour, but there'll be 45 or 50 going through there. It's only a question of time before somebody's going to get killed out there doing that particular thing. I don't care how good it is for the donations that they're collecting, but when you're out there stopping traffic in a green light zone, it just is this question. And they run out there and stand there, even stand on the white line while traffic is going by. It's bad enough walking across that intersection. I was talking to somebody the other day that right there at 58 and Y, and I'm sure Chief Lyons could talk about it, there was a car there in the Conoco station that was literally destroyed half up to the driver's steering wheel. I mean, there was nothing left of that car, so I don't even know what happened there, but obviously that is an extremely dangerous intersection. And I'll be honest with you, I don't want to see anybody out there doing anything unless you can somewhat control it on that 36-inch concrete median. It's just a question of when that's going to happen. It may have not happened yet, but I certainly wouldn't want to put my stuff out there, and I certainly wouldn't want any kids out there collecting money or whatever the case might be and have a potential fatality right there, and when we can avoid this.
Tim?
So, looking through these things, it would appear to me that number 4 would be the most neutral, yet be pretty solid. The number 3 has material.
The benefit of 4 is that it has been determined by a Missouri court. The other ones have all been federal circuit courts.
So again, the content neutral, it pretty much covers that. Roadway, it covers that. It says it all without saying anything specific. And I believe that's what you're asking. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank
Allison?
you.
Chief Lyons, can I get your opinion and your experience? How these?
I think my opinion would be number 4. I think that's the one that would be most directly related to what we see. As far as my experience, this would be the first situation where I've looked at this for this reason. The city of Lee Summit adopted a policy of permitting solicitation in the roadway. It was one per organization. It had to be on secondary streets. It couldn't involve major arterials. There was a map and a drawing. Most of that activity happened in downtown, and that was generated by people soliciting on major highways like 291, Langsford Road, which are major arterials, and that's where they limited it.
Angela?
So you had mentioned 4 was the Missouri state. Do all of these still risk the possibility of us being sued if we did them? Does that being Missouri versus federal
Well,
mean?
I mean, everything you do, I mean, it's the dispute resolution process in the United States is the court system. So if anybody has a dispute with anything that anybody does, the way to resolve the dispute is the court system. So there is nothing that any city or any other person ever does that is completely safe from litigation.
So if we didn't adopt anything, though, we still could possibly be sued in the instance that someone was hit and we didn't have something in place, or?
The city enjoys sovereign immunity for a significant number of things. There are exceptions to that. One of the exceptions is a dangerous condition on city property, which the city knows about. I am not certain if any of the things that we've discussed tonight would rise to that level to be a waiver of sovereign immunity. Now, saying all of that, that doesn't mean that somebody wouldn't sue and try and get around it. I mean, again, I can never tell you what a third party is going to do.
Well, okay, here comes stupid question, but if your teenager forgets his lunch, are you allowed to run into the street and give him his lunch or let's say that you're just standing by the side of a car, this is all on number 4, standing by the car talking to somebody and you happen to loan them your comic book, is that just, I mean, this seems pretty strict to me. I mean, I see people doing this every single day in front of my house.
Well, I'd note that roadway means the actual paved roadway. So if you were standing, if you were standing next to somebody and you were standing on the sidewalk in the grassy part of the avenue, that number 4 wouldn't apply.
Oh, well, if you live across the street, though, you come across the street. I don't know. I would agree with Perry. I think number 3 is a little more sensible, but anyway.
All right, I think city staff has gotten the input it needs, and we'll draft something up and come back.
Any other questions?
My only comment on 3, and I mean, I like 3 except for the very last sentence, traffic control signal light. I mean, so if it's a stop sign or four-way stop, you can't control that, you get on that issue, right?
Yeah, and that would also seem to almost track, though, with what Chief Lyon saw in Lee Summit, where it would be off major roads and would instead be on your more arterial, local collector type streets, which also lack the volume of traffic and the speed of traffic, too.
All right, adjourn the work session. We'll call regular meeting to order. Pledge of Allegiance, Councilmember Lawson.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Larkey,
Here.
Councilmember Savage,
Here.
Councilmember Powell,
Here.
Councilmember Trutzel,
Here.
Councilmember Kraft,
Here.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Goff,
Here.
Councilmember Lawson,
Here.
Councilmember Peak.
Here.
No personal appearances. Consent agenda. One motion, non-debatable, to approve the recommendations noted. Any member of the council may ask for an item to be taken from the consent agenda for discussion and separate action.
Present.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Regular agenda. A, motion approving the final reading of Bill 2021-47.
An ordinance levying and fixing the rate of tax for municipal purposes for the park fund and for the debt service fund for fiscal year 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Larkey,
Yes.
Councilmember Savage,
Aye.
Kraft,
Aye.
Trutzel,
Aye.
Powell,
Yes.
Clark,
Aye.
Goff,
Aye.
Peak, Lawson.
Aye.
Motion carries. B, a motion approving the final reading of Bill 2021-48.
An ordinance approving a contract for services with Heron Contracting LLC for the Public Works Facility renovation in the not-to-exceed amount of $665,140.33, and the reappropriation and revision of the City of Belton fiscal year 2022 adopted city budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilman Clark.
Greg, what's the time frame on this? How long is this gonna take, and are we actually in there right now?
To answer your first question, the plan is to have this done somewhere in November. So it all depends on supplies and when we can get things. Right now, it's really hard to get faucets. Anything made of copper or brass, it's very hard to get. So the schedule calls for them to be done in November, but it's just going to be kind of dependent on when we can get all those supplies in. The second question is, are we there already? Our vehicle maintenance facility is open and is at our new facility, ready to go. Our concrete building that we can work out of, it's open and ready to go. Our sign shop is there too. And so as we get buildings finished, we're entering into them and moving there.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Larkey,
Yes.
Councilmember Savage,
Aye.
Kraft,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Powell,
Yes.
Clark,
Aye.
Goff,
Aye.
Peak, Trutzel.
Aye.
Motion carries. C, a motion approving the final reading of Bill 2021-49.
An ordinance approving a special use permit to allow an animal services kennel in a C2 General Commercial District located at 342 North Scott Avenue, Belton, Cass County, Missouri.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, can I have a roll call?
Mayor Larkey,
Yes.
Councilmember Savage,
Aye.
Trutzel,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Peak, Clark,
Aye.
Goff,
Aye.
Powell,
Yes.
Kraft.
Aye.
Motion carries. D, motion approving the final reading of Bill 2021-50.
An ordinance approving a vacation of an existing sanitary sewer easement located east of 163rd Street and north of Bradford Place, second plat, in the city of Belton, Cass County, Missouri.
Present.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Savage,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Trutzel,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Peak, Kraft,
Aye.
Goff,
Aye.
Powell,
Yes.
Mayor Larkey.
Yes, motion carries. E, a motion approving the final reading of bill number 2021-51.
An ordinance approving the Fifth Amendment to the Old Town Belton redevelopment plan to approve the 402 Second Street project as redevelopment project 2021-2 and to authorize tax abatement as described herein.
Present.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilmember Powell,
Yes.
Clark,
Aye.
Trutzel,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Peak, Kraft,
Aye.
Savage,
Aye.
Goff,
Aye.
Mayor Larkey.
Aye. Motion carries. F, motion approving the first reading of bill 2021-52.
An ordinance authorizing an agreement with Paymentus Corporation for electronic bill payment services for utility customers.
Present.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion and any information? Councilman Trutzel.
I assume that you'll have the ability to, if somebody wants to have a electronic bill, it'll save the postage, obviously, for the city of Belton. But the convenience of it would be just as well to eliminate a little paper.
Yes, going to Paymentus, we'll be able to do electronic bills instead of paper bills. If if residents would like, we'll also be able to do paper bills.
Thank you.
And this is a substitute from what, with the other one that went away or is going away, right?
Yes, so Central Square is getting rid of Transaction Manager by the end of this year. And while they had a solution that they've created that would be available, their customer service on Click2Gov, which we are currently using, is not good at all. We continue to have customers that on shut-off day or right before they're trying to pay their bill online and they're getting error messages. It's now been 4 weeks since we've opened a case and it still has not been resolved by Central Square. The benefit of switching to Paymentus is they actually have a customer service center that customers would be able to call when they do an online payment if they have any issues, and it's staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Right now, that is not the case. Citizens have to call us, and then we have to get in touch with Central Square's help desk, which is only open until 5 o'clock on weekdays and then closed on holidays.
Are these prices and rates on page 38, are they similar to what we're getting now, or we're clients are paying now? Residents, I mean?
Residents don't pay in order to make an online payment. They do because the city is paying those fees. Actually, Councilman Savage asked about this last year, or not last year, last meeting, and I did a little bit more research. So right now we have a contract with Commerce. Commerce does our merchant services provider, and they are doing a fee based on a percentage of our sales. Paymentus is going to switch that, and they are going to do it based on each transaction. So depending on this can vary wildly. It looks to me when I reviewed the last year that we will actually, if everything was exactly as it is for the last 12 months, we'll actually end up paying about $870 less a month. That could fluctuate wildly because of how the payment model is. Paymentus is charging us based on per transaction, regardless of the amount, and they're actually limiting the amount that a customer could pay in a single transaction. It doesn't mean that you couldn't make multiple payments if you had a $10,000 water bill. And there are some commercial companies that do have a large water and sewer bill. They just use a lot of water. They could still pay their bill online. They would just have to break it up into smaller transactions, which I think would be burdensome, so I would probably want to write a check if I was them. However, it is an option. And so it really looks like if everything was the same, we'll actually pay less money,
Okay,
but things could change.
thank you.
Councilman Savage.
I just want to say thank you for following up on that, because that was all covered, but thank you for coming, I was going to bring it up. So also the staff time, that should be fairly big as well. I would think that would be a very big plus. And it's also a situation we got to change anyway.
It is. And I really think that citizens are going to have a much better online bill payment service. And because they'll have so many other options, and then they will have customer service options available to them no matter, I mean, if they're paying at 1 o'clock in the morning, or if they're paying during the day, so.
Councilwoman Peak.
Once it's voted that we go with this, how long will the process be before this is changed over?
So they're thinking minimum of 2 to 4 months. And so I had actually asked Mayor Larkey if he thought there would be any way that we could do 2 readings tonight, possibly, only because I would like to get started as soon as possible. Transaction manager is being discontinued by December 31st, and I just want to make sure that we have sufficient time to get this implemented if council would consider that.
Councilwoman Lawson.
The transaction limit you mentioned is 10,000 or was that just an example?
I think it was their limit, sorry, it's in here. Let me take a look. It's the limit's under. I was just giving an example. The limit, I believe. A maximum amount per payment is $4,000. Multiple payments can be made.
Okay, thank you.
Sheila, how many people are on auto draft? Is that pretty high?
Not really.
Okay.
It's not really very high. And in this case, so that is where we are auto draft. If they want to do it through their bank account, from their checking account, right now staff actually has to manage that process. With Paymentus, people will actually be able to do an e-check directly from their checking account if they so desire. So there really are a lot more payment options for citizens.
Councilman Powell, did you? Oh, I thought you had your. All right.
All in favor?
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Look for a second. Second.
We have a motion for a second reading and a second. Any discussion on the motion for a second reading? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion approving the second reading of Bill 2021-52.
An ordinance authorizing an agreement with Paymentus Corporation for electronic bill payment services for utility customers.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilmember Lawson,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Trutzel,
Aye.
Savage,
Aye.
Peak, Kraft,
Aye.
Powell,
Yes?
Goff,
Aye.
Mayor Larkey.
Yes. Motion carries. G, a motion approving the first reading of Bill 2021-53.
An ordinance approving a final plat for Martinwood Addition, Lot 1A and 1B, being a replat of Lot 3 in the north half of Lot 2 in Martinwood Addition, as specified in the plat legal description. The replat being a tract of land in the southwest quarter of Section 6, Township 46 North, Range 32 West, in the city of Belton, Cass County, Missouri, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to sign the plat for recording with the Cass County Recorder's Office.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and 2 seconds. Any discussion? Councilmember Clark.
Was this just a lot split? It looks like there used to be a house there at one time, and they're gonna build 2 different lots, and it fits into the size and demographics of surrounding areas?
Yes, sir. It exceeds the minimum lot size requirements of the existing R1 district. The lot's about 11,000 square feet.
I just know a lot of times in Martinwood, some of those lots over there are pretty good size. That's why I just want to make sure it fit into the neighborhood. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. H, motion approving the first reading of Bill 2021-54.
An ordinance approving a second amendment to the first amended and restated tax increment financing redevelopment agreement and the second amendment and restated tax increment financing redevelopment agreement by and between the City of Belton, Missouri and Y. Belton LLC.
Present.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion and information?
Mayor, Mayor and City Council, yes, I'd like to introduce this if I could.
You're not
The-
on. You're not on.
I think I'm just not close enough because is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the Y Belton Plaza TIF is the Belton Gateway Shopping Center, which is located at 163rd and I-49. It's comprised of 3 project areas, and a map of those areas is on the last page of your agenda. All 3 project areas have different construction completion dates at this time, and this ordinance would amend the dates for all phases to 2023. Mr. David Christie of Christie Development LLC is present tonight to provide City Council with an update.
You're up.
Slowly.
Yes.
Look like you're having fun.
All due to a COVID dog. Slowing down. It's crazy. 6 weeks ago. Thank you for the opportunity to visit. We've enjoyed our relationship with the city and council members over the years, and excited about getting some progress going on the Y Belton project. I think as a cohesive group, since this is a public-private partnership, the staff, the previous mayor, a lot of the council members ask us not to do any type of fast food, if you will. We have enough fast food in Belton, and we have so for years, and obviously Carolyn is has personal knowledge of this, that we would have folks come in trying to do a fast food pad, and we just held out for sit-down restaurants. So we're trying to determine what that looks like. Before COVID hit, I had, in my opinion, one of the top restaurants in the country committed to coming to the pad next to Neater's. The Neater's fatality, them closing that store, really hurt the viability of that development. And so we are doing, everything we can within reason to bring retailers to that. We're planning on building a retail center next to Neater's on Markey Parkway, facing Markey. And if you remember, some of you were around, I built the shopping center that currently houses Dollar Tree in front of Home Depot. That was the first center that I built here when I built the Home Depot, and then I built the one in front of Kohl's, which is about 20,000 feet where Famous Footwear is. And so we're going to try to build 2 centers in the Belton Gateway to create activity, and we're basically dealing with, if I can just be abundantly clear and transparent, the rents that we're getting are very difficult to make the numbers work on new construction. And it's just staggering. You know, lumber's coming down. A lot of things we do is with metal studs and steel, but we will use wood to see if we can figure out a way to make this thing more cost effective. But I had a contract for a 6,500 square foot convenience store on the corner of Turner Road and Y Highway, and I put it on hold at the request of the leadership in Belton. We were trying to lure Costco to the market, and so I put Mike Hales' property under contract, and it was, since the convenience store and liquor store jointly, and it was a really nice project, conflicted with the Costco. I just put that on hold, so I'm trying to salvage that and get that back on pace. We literally had a contract and we're moving forward, and then the Costco deal came up and I started working hard on that, and I didn't want to jeopardize that. But we're candidly very disappointed in the activity that we've had with the Gateway. I'm convinced that the apartments that are being built by North Point and Case Development behind the Target will make a major difference in the reception for additional retail there. I've committed to the city that I'm going to do 1 or 2 loss leader deals where I make really inexpensive deals, and I did that with Ruby Tuesdays. If you guys remember, that was the first pad there, and I gave them a super inexpensive deal on the pad for them to come into the market, to be the first one here. So, yeah, we plan to do that, and we are working with a junior department store next to Ulta, which I can't really talk about. I'm going to talk about, when we talk about Y Highway and the Price Shopper Center and a couple other things, I've got handouts to pass out where the deals are signed. So I'm going to make that information available to you. But we are working with a 25,000 square foot junior department store to go next to Ulta, which would be really exciting and increase sales. The revenue, I believe, last time I looked at it, for the Y Belton TIF is about $2.3 million between the property taxes and the sales tax. So the deal is paying back its debt. It's just paying it back more slowly than we all want. But once I get the pads built, we'll have something that we can really be excited about. Believe me, I'm mowing it, I'm pushing the snow, and I don't like it. And you know, I've never seen a pretty shopping center that was empty. They're always ugly. And so, but we love the deal. We're committed to the deal. We've got a low basis in the land, so we can do creative deals with any tenant to make it work. But I wanted to explain to you, and I don't know, Carolyn, if this is a good time to talk about the other projects, because it's really, with me buying the Price Shopper Center, it kind of flipped, and we've got 5 or 6 deals done at the Price Shopper, which we'll talk about tonight. So, but it's really been interesting because we always thought that Gateway would go first because of the tenant mix. Everybody wants to be in front of Marshalls, or Ross or Party City or something like that. And so, anyway, but we're happy to share that information with you. But I think having the 800,000 or 900,000 people that are going to be living in those apartments, getting those apartments built, is really going to help the density over there and the traffic. And I think we'll have some success in the next 24 months. So everybody knows what we're dealing with COVID, and it's just, I'm so tired of that word, because it's other than a crisis, it's become an excuse, and I'm not using it as an excuse, But when I talk to retailers, they're just saying, we don't know what's gonna happen. Most of the retailers in the Gateway stayed open during the COVID. I mean, they were, I think a couple of them were closed a month or something, but they opened right back up and were aggressive, and so we didn't really miss much of a beat. But, Caroline, should we let them talk about this, and then I can come back and?
Yeah,
It's up to the mayor.
yeah, I think we need to only limit it to this, that the motion is on the floor, and then if he wants to talk after that, I'm okay with that. Any discussion on the motion? Councilmember Powell.
Just one question, on redevelopment project 1, it says lot 5 is a hotel lot. Has that changed? It must have, because I don't think we're putting a hotel on that lot 1, but. Or, I think or lot 5 in project area 1, which is, project area 1, according to this yellow is,
I think that's that lot behind Academy, correct?
Yes.
It's the lot behind Academy, between that and the,
and the motor vehicle, the motor place?
yeah, right here.
Okay, so there is gonna be, right now, plans for a hotel there also, huh?
That was our plan. We agreed to put the land in a joint venture. We did a feasibility study, and the feasibility study came back weak, so it made no sense to build the hotel at the time. But I've got to get Hobby Lobby and Academy to agree to a change of use. But I felt like being on the freeway, we should have a hotel in the development. And of course, it's great for the TIF too, and the sales tax and all that stuff. So, but that's still our plan. It's 3 acres. So it's big enough for Town Place Suites or something like that we could put there. So, and I built one in Hayes, Kansas, and it's worked really well. So, and that's who I tried to do this project with, because I don't really build and operate hotels. I just invest in land and build shopping centers and some apartments, and so, anyway, but that, Councilman Powell, that's the answer.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now you can come back and talk for a few minutes on, because I just didn't want to do it while that motion was open.
There's,
Thank you.
they're separate. There's one for Apple Valley and one for the Price Chopper Center. So hopefully you can get 2. I'm sorry. On the Price Chopper Center, it's been really unusual how fast and the velocity that we've gotten taking it over. On the first page, it shows the vacancy that we bought. When we bought the center, it had 13,000 feet vacant, and I think we're down to 3,800 after we signed these leases. We signed the medical cannabis place in there, and they're reportedly representing to us that they will do 10 million in sales, which will really help the CID, which helped build Y Highway. And so we're really excited about that. In that process, if you look at one of the other pages, there's a rendering of the other place, Bar and Grill, that I'm building on the lot in front of the Phase 2 land. And we'll be in the next 60 days for building permits on the other place to build a freestanding pad on the lot behind Arvest Bank, if you're familiar with that. So, and then I acquired the Taco Bueno, and I've leased the building to Popeye's Chicken. So they'll be in for permits in the next 30 days to renovate that building, and there's a picture of of the renovated building and some of the inside of the building that they're gonna be doing on the Taco Bueno. So we're thrilled about it. The coffee and car wash facility's under construction. I'm working on a couple of things for the Phase 2 land. I'm working on a strip center on the pad next to Arvest Bank fronting Y Highway. But it's really been amazing, the activity that we've had. And I don't really understand, other than it's closer to the people that live in Belton. And all of a sudden, it's just, we've got amazing activity. So working with a physical therapy, national physical therapy concern to take one of the big vacancies there. But we hope to be full by Christmas. So just really excited about it. And if you were to tell me that this was going to happen, I mean, the Constantinos owned it for 7 years and never leased a single square footage, never sold a pad. And they're great people. John Constantino's my neighbor, and we play golf and hunt together. I mean, they just didn't have the right timing. I don't know. I really don't know what it is. I can't say that it's talent, because we're not that talented, but it's been pretty interesting what has happened with that project. So when Mayor Davis asked me to get involved and try to fix it, I just met with him, and I said, as long as I can, and you know, quite frankly, we can do a lot less rent deals for these pad users or for these tenants than we can me building a new shopping center and trying to get, you know, $25, $30 a foot. So it's been really refreshing, and to have, you know, for lack of a better word, second generation space, even though it's never been built out. It's just in less inexpensive space so that I can go in and do that. We're building currently, you'll see the drive-through window for the pickup window for the, like a Walgreens, drive-through window for the marijuana place. The other place wants to do pickleball and stuff on the Phase 2 land. So we're talking to them about that. And we're thrilled with the tenant mix that we've got, and we're excited about it. So thank you for the opportunity to invest in the community with that, and we feel really good about it. I'm happy to answer any questions about the Y Highway deal.
Councilman Clark.
That was one of my questions. We actually ate at the other place the other night, and their menu says coming to Belton soon, so that's good. It's announced. But they are going to have outside activities?
Yes.
And you're saying it's going to be behind the Arvest Bank and not next to the building? Okay. The other thing.
Get them to move. They had to tear up their lease. I mean, I had to write a check to pay for all the plans to get them to move, because the cannabis store had state mandates to get the store open by a certain date or they lost their license. And they just jacked around too long and didn't allow my architect to do what he needed to do, so we just ran out of time. So we had to move them into an existing structure. And the license was basically on the pad. It was on the shopping center, which happens to be kind of the same pad that they're going on, but it's in front of the Phase 2 land, which is...
Well, the building looks wonderful, though. I mean, I won't lie to you. So, and the other thing I'll let you know, Mr. Christie, is citizens don't want you not to get a fast food restaurant. There's certain ones they want. It's just if you can get it. They might stand like Chick-fil-A or something like that. So if they want to come to that shopping center, they'll still take that one.
No. Carolyn has rung my bell many times about Whataburger and Chick-fil-A. So.
Councilmember Kraft.
So I may have missed it. What is College Hunks?
It's it sells moving supplies, and it does moving. So you go in and sign up for a move, and then you can buy boxes, and so they have some retail components. But it's one of the hottest franchises in the retail industry, and I guess it's just doing amazing. And so they came in and signed a lease. We'll be in, well, the plans are done, so we'll be in the next probably 2 weeks for a building permit on that. College Hunks Moving Junk is what it's called. So.
Any other questions for Mr. Christie? Thank you.
The,
Okay, go ahead.
the second rendering, is a rendering of, Express Oil. They've signed a purchase agreement with me to buy the Apple Valley property and develop it, and those are pictures of their different buildings that they have, and so on. So, they'll be coming in with a request, for a final development plan, and, I think they plan to build a 4,500-foot building on there. We had a couple of, Jared Frost is here with Point Development who helped me market that. And we had quite a few people interested in it. And people were worried about the access, you know, because you got to really go onto Apple Valley and then turn in. And so we were trying to get like a sit-down restaurant or something to go in there, and everybody was objecting to it. We did have a non-sales tax generating use that wasn't really good for the city and wasn't particularly exciting for me. And so we decided to do this, and yeah, we're excited about it. I wanted to, if I can, so if you have any questions on that, I'm happy to answer those. And then we are bidding on trying to buy the Neaters. It's going to auction on the 22nd of September. And I've got to get control of it and fix it because it's just sitting there as an eyesore right in the middle of all my investment. And so I'm bidding on it to try to get it fixed and re-tenanted. So I wanted to tell you about that as well. So I'm happy to answer any other questions relative to what I'm doing. But it's, you know, I spent a lot of time considering Belton, thinking about how I can make these projects better, and I appreciate your confidence, and I'll continue to work hard to please the council and the patrons that live here.
Go ahead.
I don't have any questions about your current projects, but I got a question about your old project. You still own the land behind Applebee's, and is that ever going to be developed, or are you marketing that anymore?
We're marketing it, and it's just, you know, we had a contract with Quick Lube, Jiffy Lube is what it's called, and then I ended up suing Kohl's because they were blocking the Jiffy Lube deal from going in, and then they caved, and we made, you know, and so we went back to Jiffy Lube, and they decided that they didn't want to do the deal and they'd gone somewhere else. And so, you know, it's a pretty good pad. I maintain monument rights with the Applebee's so that I could put signage right on 58 on the pad, because I used to own the Applebee's and the land behind it, and I sold the Applebee's, but I still get to put that sign there contractually. So I'm just, you know, it's just a 25,000-foot pad. Part of the pad is the drive, so it's just not very big, so I can really only do about a 2,800-foot building. But yeah, believe me, I'm tired of fixing the asphalt and, you know, and mowing it. So yeah, we'd like to get something done.
So you still own the building next to it too, where the famous footwear is in Sprint?
I sold that in 2012.
Okay. I just see a big vacant spot back there for a long time. I didn't know if that was you or someone else, so.
David Block is managing it for it's a tax-free exchange guy that bought that.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor Larkey, can I ask David one question?
Yeah, go ahead.
David, would you please just briefly explain about Neaters, that it's not just the Belton location, and what happened with Neaters, for those that don't know?
The Four Foods Group, which is one of the most dominant, I guess, operational companies for new concepts in the country out of Utah, brought Neaters to Kansas City, and they did 60 stores. They bought, and I can't tell you the legal name of the Neaters family because I don't know them, but the people that owned the Neaters concept owned 10 stores, and Four Foods Group, which was really well financed and tremendous operators, owned 60. And so the Four Foods Group was supposed to buy, because the Neaters family, but just whoever was the original owner, wasn't doing a good job marketing it, and so Four Foods Group pushed the issue to buy it, and the Needers family said, we're not selling to you, we're buying you. So they went out and borrowed $100 million and bought, because the stores were cash flowing so much, and bought all the Needers buildings and leases back from the Four Foods Group. And within 6 or 7 months, closed a lot of them. So we don't know what, we don't know what they're doing, but, when you close 123rd and Metcalf in front of Target, you're not doing something right. And that's a strong location, and there's just no reason that they would close that location. So it didn't have anything to do with it's not a knock on the Belton market. And everybody talks about when you go in there, the food was originally good, and then the service got bad and the food got bad, and then they closed. So it was an operational problem with the Four Foods Group being out and the original family being in, trying to operate it from Utah, which is also where the Four Foods Group was from. So, but they're bringing, I'm working with Mobetas. They basically build all these Mobetas all over the country. It's a little bit like Hawaiian Brothers. But they're running with like 4 or 5 concepts now, and they just do a great job. So, but we just got to get something done with that. We tried to move the cannabis store in there, and basically the staff, the mayor, everybody thought maybe that's not a good place for it, right there at the corner. So and then Hobby Lobby started complaining. We're not sure that's good. We don't want that in front of us. They're very spiritual company, and just said, we're not sure. We don't even like liquor stores in front of us, let alone like a medical cannabis place. So they called me and put the old squeeze on me. So anyway, but no, we're going to get it full, get tenants out there, and we're excited about it, and believe me, I think about it all the time, because it's I still owe all my hard assets, other than some of the land that I own, are sold off, and I still owe $11 million on the TIF, which means I'm $11 million short from breaking even. So you can imagine that I want to get this thing built out so I can get my money out of it. So anyway, I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. All right, City Council Liaison reports. Go ahead.
We had a park board meeting last week. No real updates right now. We will be needing to replace the park director. They hired a gentleman to take over the recreation department, so that's a good step. That's all I have for now.
Okay. I have the August 16th Planning Commission meeting. As a follow-up to the July 19th meeting, during the minutes, Dave Clements noted that Caliber Collision had not yet responded to the conditions that were placed on the Caliber Collision final development plan, including a traffic mitigation strategy plan and a response detailing permits about hazardous wastes, etc. In the public hearing, we rezoned 210 to 212 Mill Street, which I said was going to vote on tonight, but I think we're voting on it next time maybe. The Planning Commission passed this unanimously after comments from the owner of the property. In a non-public hearing, Dutch Brothers Coffee's final development plan was unanimously approved after discussions with the company's architect. One condition that was added to the staff's recommendation for the plan was raising the pedestrian crosswalk that crosses 2 lanes of stacking car traffic. This will alleviate concern about the potential for stacking traffic / pedestrian accidents, as pedestrians walking to the service window must cross 2 stacking lanes. And that's, as Dave has pointed out, highly unusual or maybe non-existent until now in Belton. In other business, the Planning Commission will consider additions, changes to the UDC, Unified Development Codes, at their September meeting. Public Works employee Kia Freeburger listed several potential changes, including an approval path for mother-in-law houses and/or tiny homes, in other words, smaller housing on already developed lots. Also planned are refinements in the required developer plans and the marquee detention fee. And then finally, we had an election of officers. Tom McPherson was re-elected as chairman, and James Pryan was elected as vice chairman. And that's what happened on August 16th.
Thank you. I don't have any communications tonight. City Manager?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Did want to bring to the attention of the council at the dais, you have a flyer that talks about the 87th Annual MML Conference. It's coming up in St. Louis, September 26th to the 29th. Brought this up well, actually, it was a few months ago, and that was the purpose for us changing the September date from September 28th back to September 21st. There are a few staff members that will be attending that. If you would like to attend, please let staff, Andrea or I know, and we can help facilitate that and get you registered. And then the other item that we have for this evening, Emergency Management Director and Police Chief Lyons has an update about COVID. Chief?
I just wanted to give some statistics from Cass County Health Department. We do a situational update Monday through Friday, about 4 p.m. every day. Today, last week's total cases of COVID-19 were 281. There's 51 new confirmed cases reported today, making this week's total 118. The confirmed cases total for Cass County is 9,400. And of those 51 new confirmed cases this week, Belton's at 11. We have 3 new deaths from last week, raising our total to 98. And then I also noted, when you look at the last 5 weeks in regards to cases, 5 weeks ago we were at 301 cases. At 4 weeks we were at 233. It dropped to 215. It climbed 2 weeks ago to 280, and today we're at 118. So we're on average of coming back in somewhere around between 215 and 218, if you were to do that as a study. The Cass County Health Department is offering free COVID-19 testing Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., and that is at 1411 South Commercial Street. It's the former Forged by Fire Kitchen and Tap House. As far as our first responders, both police and fire have initiated procedures to employ PPE, personal protective equipment, and decontamination features. We've actually, on the police side, have asked our police officers if they're going indoors to mask up. All city buildings, we're strongly encouraging masking to help contain the spread. And that's about it, unless you have any questions.
Any questions?
That concludes my report, Mayor.
Any council communications? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to enter an executive session to discuss matters pertaining to legal actions according to Missouri State Statute 610.021.1, to discuss matters pertaining to leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate according to Missouri State Statute 610.21.2, and to discuss matters pertaining to negotiated contracts according to Missouri State Statute 610.21.12, and that the record be closed and the meeting adjourned from there.
Present.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none.
Mayor Larkey,
Yes.
Councilmember Savage,
Aye.
Kraft,
Aye.
Trutzel,
Aye.
Powell,
Yes?
Clark,
Aye.
Goff,
Aye.
Peak, Lawson.
Aye.
Motion carries.